The rains hadn't hit Polney yet, so the dirt was like dust clouding the air at a single kick. Sometimes what happened in the scrub was different from what was happening here. I'd spent so much time on the battlefield that I stopped having stray thoughts, like how the weather was at the pen. Don't you know people are trying to sleep? The mouse's back straightened, her eyes growing large as she dipped into an awkward salute. Whoever had taught her that had only shown her a soldier's bow, not a lady's curtsy. Meanwhile, something flipped her hair, glowering up at me with no fear. Yeah? Not you, she sniped, while the mouse tugged on her arm. Their faces were hilarious, so I laughed. Oh, heavens, the mouse bowed again and again. Amber, apologize to Sir L. But Amber just snorted. He's a soldier, Lyra, not some nobleman. Call him L. That's his name, isn't it? In a squeaky whisper, the mouse continued, But that's rude. Can't you see that's rude? I stepped off the last of the porch slats, standing on the edge of where our cottage cliffed over the mud bank. Your daddies are both my superiors, Mouse. Just call me L, like the rude one says. Ha! Amber snorted, crossing her arms. Whatever. I couldn't remember being so hostile when I was that age. Girls were scary. What are you two shouting about so early, anyway? I gestured around the barren camp, signs of merriment scattered on every dirt track and peeling fence post. I assumed we'd all be on cleanup duty today, to rid the pen of 6 years' worth of dust and garbage. Too bad I had to go replace my sword. Had to do it now, too. Those lizards had terrible memories. Shame I had to miss out. Lyra's too nice. Amber stomped so loud up the hill that I could hear the ground crying for help. She lets people talk shit, but doesn't say anything. I have to be the one to step in. I plopped down on the bank, the backs of my calves immediately taking on dirt, though you couldn't really see a color difference. My body was already somewhat grayish, like chalk that had been drained of its vibrant brown hue. Did she ask you to handle it? I had never spoken to the bosses or nannies' daughters before. I was just bored, and nobody was awake. What did they do all day, stuck in this place that was on the edge of the capital, but just enough out of sight to be ignored by everyone? Traveling into the city was a day's trip. There weren't any quick food vendors around or shops with things like candles and embroidery and whatever else little girls liked. Sounded like hell. Amber huffed, sitting down with the same kind of energy as when she'd trudged up the hill. Quietly, the mouse fell to my other side, and the three of us stared into the far brush across the mud bank. That was where more than one foul creature existed, and if you followed the fetid swamp far enough, you found yourself on the northern side of the scrub, where the lions lived. She'd never ask, Amber huffed. She'd just suffer in silence, won't even say anything to me unless I hear it too. Then it's all, just let it go, Amber, screw that. This girl sure was the boss's daughter. Already she had the natural makings of a leader taking care of her people. But it doesn't make them stop, the mouse chipped in. She ate at one nail, faint trickles of watery blood dyeing one of her cuticles. It just makes them more scared of us. Then they'll keep sneaking back here and finding more things to gossip about. I blinked at the mouse. Not only was I not nearly as hostile at this age, but I was also not as smart. Girls were scary. Sneaking back here? Idiots sneak out here? Do they make trouble? Amber tisked. They think the vice commander's having an affair with his family's maid. They say that because Lyra doesn't look like her mother, that she's actually Vera's daughter. When they come, it's to spy. I stilled. On my left, Lyra the mouse looked everywhere but at the two of us, her cheeks as red as the veins of fire riddling the sky. On my right, Amber glared at her friend challengingly, a deep pout twisting her lips. This was what the commanders and vice commanders' daughters have had to deal with while the rest of the lions were gone, fighting for the nation? The city folk were so bored that they had to hike an hour with their own crystal lights just to come and make up garbage like that and terrorize 2 little girls? Well, we're going to put a stop to that. Put a stop to what? At the sound of that deep voice, my heart puttered before continuing on as normal. Memories of sneaking out of the pen at night and immediately being caught in the snare of a lion had me scrambling. "Boss," I greeted, springing to my feet and giving a firm press salute. As my eyes gazed at the ground, I noticed he wore loafers. I could actually see his ankles, so unused to the light of day that they appeared colorless and almost blue. Loafers. "Dad!" Amber scrabbled off the bank, flying at him like a jumping spider. The commander was unbothered, didn't rock back at all. Amber alternated leaping forward in a strangling hug and dancing on her tiptoes. "What are we doing today? When do you have to go back?" As Commander Garfield looked down at his child, I found that I needed to look away. I was an intruder, staring at a stranger. The boss I knew was unyielding like iron, fiercer than any lion I'd met in the scrub. "I don't have to be anywhere, sweet girl," he said, in a voice that was just as gentle and kind as whenever one of the lions suffered a serious injury. But then, screams filled the med tent, and here, there was only the laughter of 2 little girls. "Lyra, did you sleep at our house last night?" The mouse stood to attention, and I wondered if her soldier parents had taught her that, or if she'd just copied them on her own. The latter seemed more realistic, especially considering the wrong placement of her arms. "Yes, Commander. Sorry, Commander." Boss just waved it away, his smile peeking out from his fuzzy beard. "You're not in trouble. I just want to make sure your parents know where you are." "Yes, sir," Lyra replied quickly. "They know." Her nervous hands gravitated toward one another, though that action ruined her stance entirely. Boss smiled, his eyes crinkling up into mere crescents. That's all I needed to know. His attention turned to me. "Rory not up yet, Al?" "No, sir." Standing to attention, my arm switched, left to back, right to front, as I answered. The correct stance. I stuck my tongue out at Lyra, who tried to copy me, rising up on her tiptoes. I did the same, proving that she would never be able to beat me in height or discipline. Her cheeks puffed up at her inadequacy, and I almost felt bad. "Nah, I'm lying." "And have you seen him?" The commander's brows waggled in a clunky manner. The girls looked at each other in confusion, but I understood. I tilted my head to the swamp across the bank. "He's out there, sir." The commander gave a thoughtful hum. Amber couldn't hold it in anymore. She tugged at the boss's arm, his sleeve unraveled up to his elbows. So weird, just like the loafers. "Who are you talking about, Dad?" The commander searched past my face, and I felt a wave of calm wash over me. He was the same boss I'd always known, the hard-ass trainer, the iron wall of discipline, the man who never left a soldier behind, even if it meant trudging into hell by himself. "There," he pointed, and it was like a summons. I heard branches creaking and snapping under the weight of giant paws. Lyra sucked in a quick breath, ducking behind me immediately. At this sign of trust, I froze. Why would she hide behind me, of all people? And what was she so scared of? That overgrown kid couldn't do anything to anyone. "Whoa," Amber marveled, at complete odds with her friend. "A lion! What's it doing all the way out here?" The commander met my gaze, then dropped the subject. "I'm surprised you woke up so early. I thought you might be feeling unwell last night. You left the table so suddenly." I clicked my heels together. "Sorry, sir." He just waved it off. "You're not in trouble. I just wanted to make sure everything was all right." Without hesitating, I answered, "The palace food is too rich. I spent the night shitting my guts out, sir." Amber flinched away, face screwing up. Lyra didn't move. but she looked like she wanted to do the same. Instinctively, she started sniffing the air, but you couldn't smell something that wasn't there. And if she sniffed too close at what was actually rubbed into my clothes, I'd have to behead myself in front of her mother and father. Disgusting, Amber proclaimed, and Boss started laughing. Mirth shone in his eyes. I'd only seen that after a night spent drinking heavily between troop rotations, and that was usually only for a moment. Blink and you miss it. As he wiped tears away, he agreed. It was a bit much, wasn't it? Well, you look fine now. I'm relieved. Now that you mention it, Amber said, he does look green. That's just how I look, I said. I'm green, I'm brown, I'm gray, I'm the earth and the sky. I repeated the lines of poetry Rory had found. It was describing something not real, like hornbilled ducks or the essence of truth or something, but he used them to describe me often enough that I'd memorized the cheesy lines. I don't get it, Amber said, but I forgave her because she was young and dumb and didn't understand romance. And that was okay. Sir, what are your orders? The commander paused, screwing his mouth to the side. I wasn't going to give any, not for today at least. I stared at him, forgetting to blink until the dense air reminded me that dehydration could occur in seconds with the sky still broken. Blinking rapidly, I said, Then what do I do?